Don't care too much about the world economy. You wouldn't bail me out if I was in trouble. Don't care too much about the world economy. To me, you're nothing but a bursting bubble. Bubble, 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 bubble.
Hey, how's it going, people of the internet? My name is Creation, and now that Battlefield 4 is out of beta, I thought it would be a good time to reevaluate some of my loadouts in-game, since a lot of the weapon balance in-game has drastically been changed with the recent patch. The game really plays like a whole different game. As you can see, the Holy Deagle got nerfed, so maybe it is a different game. As you can see, I'm still using the Deagle after the patch, something that will probably surprise you. Now, the trigger delay from the revolvers are actually gone, but I still prefer the Deagle. When I said Deagle is love, Deagle is life a few months ago, I meant it, and I don't think any of the other revolvers really come up to the Deagle's level, and they're definitely not exactly how they were in Battlefield 3. But you can't really use the Deagle all the time. You have to have a secondary primary. So lately, I've been using the L85, surprisingly. Now, it did get a buff recently with the patch, pretty much bringing it back to how it was before the initial nerf that it got, way when the game first came out. So it's kind of just like, WTF DICE, why did you even nerf it in the first place? Because I remember when the nerf came out, it was literally for no reason that I could find. But even though the L85 is a pretty good gun, I don't think any of the assault rifles can really hold the name of best gun. They all have their perks and they're pretty much the best when it comes to versatility and range. But there are some really good weapons that I feel are the god guns of their class, such as the SKS. And the great thing about the DMRs with the new damage model is that they rock. Before the patch, I would really say that the DMRs was probably the least thing I would use ever. You would pretty much have to cap, stand still, or stare him enough with the pew pew pews that he just dropped dead instantly. But after the patch with the weapon model, most of the DMRs now kill in 2 to 3 shots, so I would say that they do have good luck against the assault rifles. Now, the assault rifles seem to be kind of in a weird situation. Now, before the patch, I would say that everyone considered the assault rifles really to be the best guns in game, and they always have been since Battlefield 3. And now that all has changed. It seems like what DICE and Vistro is doing in Hardline is that they want to actually balance the classes, because we've been complaining about this for a very long time. I recently heard that in Battlefield Hardline, the assault class equivalent in that game is now going to have ammo instead of health, so he won't be able to regenerate his health and have the best gun. Thanks, DICE. Well, Vistro, I always get those guys confused. Well, anyway, it's a great turn in the sense of direction of balance. I feel like DICE really nailed it with this patch. Every weapon has kind of a sense of a playstyle, and in that playstyle, you have kind of this sub-playstyle that really defines who you are. So I guess really the best weapon is always the one you can do your best with. Now, I'm not going to say that any one weapon is the best, but recently I discovered something that I think the whole internet now knows of, and it's kind of spiraling out of control. So recently, the JS2 got a big buff, making it what I believe to be the best gun for close quarters combat, the god gun for close quarters combat. It has everything you will want in a close quarters situation. A huge magazine, some of the best recoil, and a great fire rate. But surprisingly, it is not equipable to the assault class. So I feel that it's perfectly balanced, but I'm pretty sure there is a lot of people who say this gun is OP. So since this gun is locked to the engineer class, you can't give yourself health or ammo. I think it's balanced, and it's not really one of those guns you would ever think to use. But with the recent patch, I thought I should try it out. And it's a really amazing gun, especially for close quarter situations. It's not really that good at range. It is still a PDW, of course. I'm hoping that DICE doesn't actually nerf it. I feel like the PDWs, as I've been saying a few times before, is that most of the PDWs really suck, and that they're kind of underpowered for the purpose. They're supposed to be able to take people really at very close ranges, and they don't seem to do that. The assault rifles really murk them up in close quarters. I haven't tested it as much in the recent patch, but I want to know, how do they compete now that the assault rifles don't kill as fast? Still, the JS2 is no M16. Speaking of M16, the M16A3 is really a
legendary weapon.
I knew about the M16A3 and I didn't even play Battlefield. As I've said before, DICE is really thinking about bringing it back. But the thing I'm hearing from you guys is that the M16A3 will be OP, everyone will use it, and I do kind of agree, but not with all points.
The M16A3, I feel, will be the most balanced weapon if DICE does choose to implement it. But there seems to be kind of this kind of hype factor when it comes to weapons such as the M16A3, where everyone uses it, and I believe DICE is trying to get everyone to use the variety of guns in the game.
Yesterday, I didn't know the JS2 even existed in the multiplayer version of Battlefield, to be honest. But now I've been using it more and more, and I believe if they brought it back, I don't think they'll actually make it OP, but people would use it because, hey, it's the M16A3, I've heard about this weapon, I'm going to try it out. That's just how I feel about the game. If people are having fun with the weapons that they use to slaughter enemies of the past, let them have fun. If it's not really hurting the game, let them resume. But anyway, M16A3 was always a nice gun. I personally didn't play with it as much in Battlefield 3 as most people I've heard play with it. Personally, I was an AN94 guy, and that seems like it may be coming back in this veteran weapon DLC pack, along with the M27. Personally, I like to see these old guns come back, but a lot of you really want to see the cross vector. And I do want to see it too. I hope it's similar to what the JS2 is, just with a little bit less ammo and a bit less recoil. Even though the JS2 really has no recoil, the Vector is a really nicely designed gun, and I hope to see it come back in the future. So speaking of the future, Final Stand is right around the corner. And a lot of you guys told me you really missed the expo. Well, I have some really good news for you, especially if you've been keeping up to date with the Phantom Assignment, because it looks like there's going to be a compound bow added into Battlefield when the Final Stand DLC comes out. Now, we still don't know if it's going to be a weapon or a gadget like it was in Battlefield 3, but we do know that it's 10 out of 10 awesome sauce. Now, thinking back to the expo, I started to think about what could be improved about the expo itself, which will now pretty much become a compound bow. Now, compound bows are manually drew, so you probably won't be able to keep an arrow in the chamber. But thinking back to the expo, I remember how you unlocked it in one of the most fabulous game modes that have ever came to a Battlefield game, and that was Scavenger. Scavenger seems to be one of the game modes that I remember, one for the art style fitting the situation in game, making it one of the most immersive experiences ever to come to a Battlefield. And I personally believe that we really need that game mode in Battlefield 4. So tell me guys, if you could bring one game mode back from a past Battlefield, what would you bring? I personally kind of want to say Rush, but Rush is in Battlefield 4, it's just not working even after the patch. It's alright, it's not how it used to be though. So, I'll leave you guys with this one. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay creative, guys.
Now